Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Eric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
This episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is brought to you by Club Car Wash. You know, Angie and I love to have a clean car. And the great thing about Club Car Wash is with their membership packages, no matter where we're at, we can wash. And we have kids in ball tournaments all over. So if we travel to Kansas City or St. Louis, there's car washes available from Club Car Wash. We've been in Illinois and Omaha, Nebraska before at ball tournaments and been able to wash our vehicles thanks to Club Car Wash. And if you love a clean vehicle, all during the month of February, 50% off any new membership for 3 months. New members only. Again, 50% off a membership for 3 months if you're a new member to Club Car Wash during the month of February. Check them out. You're going to love them. Learn more at clubcarwash.com.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where you hit me over the weekend, not physically or literally.
I mean, I probably maybe wanted to once or twice, but I'm not sure where you're going with this, so now I'm intrigued.
You dropped on me a phrase that I had not heard before. So you hit me with the phrase, "Don't let them die twice." And you had just heard it in the last week, and it struck me, and so thought this would be a great thing to dive into today for just a little bit.
Yeah. You know, whenever you are going through grief, we talk about this all the time. Like, you just want to know and learn as much as you can about it. You know, it ends up being your entire feed on social media. I've read so much about grief. 2 years in, I've heard every phrase that has been said about grief. You know, it doesn't get easier. You learn to carry it. They don't just die once, they die every day and you relive it. There's just so many grief phrases. And I had a friend reach out to me last week and just wanted to check in. It'd been a while. And we were just having this catch-up conversation. And he said this in passing. Well, you know the phrase, "Don't let them die twice." And I'm like, no, I don't know that phrase, but oh my gosh, that's it. I mean, that's it. That's what you immediately go into. For one, not letting yourself die all the way. Like, there's a part of me that died when Hallie died. So you're fighting for your own life. But in this interesting twist, you know, I always have this fear that she will be forgotten. And I talked about it on one of our podcasts recently of like, there's no new memories being made. And then, you know, we shared that perspective of like, you are making new memories. But this "don't let them die twice," it's like, I want Hallie to keep living. I want her to be part of our life. And that is part of this like fight that you're holding on to, is to not let her memory die, because then she would be dying twice. So yeah. I would just say, if you are in that scenario where you feel like people don't want to hear the stories, or people don't want to hear her name, or that it's hard to put words to what you're feeling on this internal fight, it's because you don't want to let them die twice. And there's a beauty in that aspect. My friend had shared that when he had lost his dad, he just stopped talking about him immediately, just couldn't deal with it. I know, Eric, you shared that too. And he's like, I've lost, like, I don't know what happened. Like, the memories are gone. Like, I don't have them anymore because I've blocked them out. So it's healthy to have this fight to always keep them alive, because you are honoring them, you're remembering them, and it's also keeping the memories fresh in your mind so you don't forget about it. Like, I have this fear, like, I'm gonna forget what her voice sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
actually, I won't, because for Christmas, those of you that watch on YouTube can see this, but Eric gave me this little like pink button with Hallie's signature on it. And I'm gonna play it. So this is like, I'm never gonna forget what her voice sounds like. But my favorite part is the very end of it.
Honey, you want more short nail? Honey, you said you want short nail. You have no boyfriend trying to help you. You like or gel? Hey, honey, do you like or gel? It's the best thing in the world, making nails sparkle like diamond in the sky. Do you like or gel? Love you, Gigi.
Love you, Gigi. Like, so I'm never gonna forget her voice. But there is this like fear of all of that. Hallie was so good at this little comedy skit with Angela Johnson. It just cracks me up every time. But she loved Angela Johnson. She's a stand-up comedian. And so anyway, don't let him die twice.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, one, yes, I always loved when Hallie would do that comedy bit, but two, that she says, "Love you, Gigi," at the end of that recording. And that was something that her and I did one night at the radio station. She used to like to go there with me sometimes after her and I would go out, hang out, spend time together when she was in college. And so I would say to you, I've lived it both ways. And that when you said this to me the other night, when you hit me with this the other night, it was like a light bulb went off, because I've done it both ways. I've always said, until Hallie died, losing my dad was the hardest thing I've ever been through. But then losing Hallie's actually worse. And I did what your friend had done. I buried my dad that day, and I didn't want to talk about him anymore. He was my favorite person, my absolute favorite person. And I didn't want to hurt. And I just said, I'm not going to talk about him. I'm going to forget everything about him. And I tried to do that really hard for about 7 years. And the sad part about that is that I do forget his voice often. And a lot of the memories, there were so many, I forgot. Like, even when I started to talk about him, which now has probably been 8 to 9, maybe even 10 years ago, I lost so many memories in the 7 years that I refused to talk about him. So that stinks, and it's scary. And it's also one of the reasons why I am so glad that for us, we have talked about Hallie over and over again since this all started, because you don't let her die twice. And then I feel crappy that I let my dad die a second time after that. So, it's a very true statement when you're grieving. I know it's painful to talk about him, but it's also very healing to talk about the person that you cared for so much that you lost.
Yeah, and I wouldn't feel guilty about that. Like, I feel like that there's so much more information out there. There's so much grief awareness and topics and just all kinds of things that you can dive into to be able to better handle and process grief that you didn't have at your fingertips either. So there's some grace to it. You did the best that you could at that time with what you knew.
Oh, that's true. That is absolutely true. So if you have lost someone, just hope that this resonates with you. Don't let them die twice. Talk about them. Keep their memories alive. Just their memory, but all the memories that go with it. And hopefully this day and age, that is the other beautiful thing, is that this day and age, there are a lot more recordings of people with cell phones and all the different social medias. And so hopefully you have recordings on your phone of the people that you love, so that you can go back and hear their voice and see some of those moments and memories.
So next little topic. By the way, this episode is really just going to be kind of random topics, things that are top of mind for us that maybe aren't so connected, but relevant.
Where we are in life right now. How about that?
Yes. So we had our weekend together, and one thing that it's a non-negotiable is we go to church, right? And so right now our sermon series that we're on is Pray Without Ceasing. And it was definitely relevant to what we're going through, to where we are in our journey. But it's like an 8-week series all about praying. And some of the key takeaways, I think, for me, because, I talk about praying all the time, that I suck at it. I always think like, oh, I'm just begging. I'm just like God help me, God guide me, help me get through the day, help me, find the strength to get up. Like they're very just short prayers. And I discovered from the sermon is like, I'm better than everyone in my praying because that's like the right way to pray. That's what I got out of it.
I don't think he said
Oh,
it
I
quite
think he
like
said I was
that,
the
but
best. I think he said
he,
that my
he
prayer
did
way was the
acknowledge your
best.
prayer was very solid way to pray, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's a great way to pray without ceasing is to pray the way you're praying. I have no problems with it either. And
Kidding.
I think
I'm kidding, of course, but I think praying is overwhelming in some aspects, and that's kind of what he talked about was pray without ceasing can seem like, oh my God, you just want me to pray nonstop, and sometimes you can get totally distracted in your prayers if it's long and drawn out versus like having conversations. I love the analogy that he used he used the Secret Service as an example and how they protect the president and they keep people from getting access to the president. I think you just shared from a political perspective recently that's getting locked down even more of just eliminating access to our current president. But with God, there's no barriers. Like you have a direct line to him. So why wouldn't you talk to your friend as much as possible in everything that you do? And so that's the analogy, the example of what pray without ceasing means is like in everything that you're doing, ask for his guidance.
Yeah, I did a great job with the example of when you say pray without ceasing. You want me to pray all the time? That's way too much. That's not possible. But he's like, no, I get that. But we scroll without ceasing, or we online shop without ceasing, or, there was a handful of things that we do without ceasing, and we don't even think about it. But when it comes to, I'd like you to try to pray without ceasing, it's, whoa, we're drawing a line there.
No, back it up.
And so I think it goes back to, I also said a few weeks ago, that book I'd been reading, Practicing the Way, about trying to actually become more like Jesus. It references how often he goes off to pray alone. Like it's a part of his daily life is to be in connection, in communion with God the Father. And even Jesus, he referenced yesterday in his sermon, said, I can do nothing without my Father. And so if it's like that for Jesus, then how much more is it for us? And so when I was reading the book about Practicing the Way a few weeks ago, there was like 4 different types of prayer. And, the initial prayer is kind of like what you're saying. It's like the God help me. Please be with me. Don't leave me today. I need you today. There is nothing wrong with that prayer. Nothing wrong with it at all, which is what Keith was saying yesterday. And so I know you have been hard on yourself with prayer sometimes. And everybody's at a different part. The way I pray now, which can sometimes be rambling, and then I can lose my place and forget where I'm at, kind of like he said. That's something that I have developed over the last 5 to 6 years. Like when I first started praying in earnest, I probably wasn't praying those prayers, but there is the opportunity for all of us to grow and deepen the way that we pray so that we can have that one-on-one connection with Jesus.
Well,
and that's what he said yesterday. It was like, you could be Jesus' best friend. Like he wants a friendship with you.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's even the word prayer first is just not thinking you have to have something formal to say. It's like a presentation, like a formal presentation to a customer or presenting some sort of plan. It's like, it's not that. Prayer is like just talking about your day and not putting so much pressure on it that it has to be some eloquent type of review of your life versus just like, hey, this is where I'm struggling today. Like, help me, in more of a conversation. And it eliminates the pressure of like, oh my gosh, I have to say this thing this certain way. And it's not like that. It's just a conversation with your friend.
Yeah, I think there was growing up the way that I did and going to a very rigid school that was based in faith. Like you learned all these prayers to pray, and you may not always know what the prayer meant, but you had all these prayers. So then when it was like time to start praying like this, where it was like I was actually having a conversation to build connection with Jesus, I didn't know what that was. Is there a prayer for that? Like, is there something I'm supposed to read? And there's nothing wrong with any of those prayers, right? There's nothing wrong with the Lord's Prayer. There's nothing wrong with several prayers that have been written throughout history. If you find one and you like that prayer, do that. But you can also just, as you said, have a conversation with Jesus that can make you feel very close and connected to him. And especially in your time of need and your direness where you just feel like your mourning is so great, Jesus wants to sit in that and mourn with you. And so you can just cry out to him in however you need to.
Yeah, speaking of hitting each other, so I hit you at the beginning with the don't let him die twice. Then you hit me this weekend with this reel from Caleb.
Yeah.
What's two people?
Carlos and Amy in the morning. Yeah. So we've been listening to Caleb, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago when Angie was talking about that's all she listens to, for several years now. And they really have started to use their social media well. And this just popped up in my Instagram reels.
Yeah. So it was Carlos and Amy, and they were just talking about marriage and how challenging marriage is. And he threw out this little zinger that
you felt it was a zinger. All right.
But it was like, how would you learn unconditional love if you were married to someone that met all of your conditions? And I just thought that was so interesting from a mom's point of view, because I know how to unconditionally love my kids.
That's fair.
Like,
I would agree with you. Yeah.
A++ in that realm.
Yes.
I don't even have to try. Like, as a mom, like you just love your kids.
You're an overachiever at that.
Doesn't matter what they do. Like, I love the shit out of the kids. But then flip it to
I'm just interested to see how this goes. I'm listening.
I mean, it just
my
like,
listening ears turned
it's
on.
Perspective. I embrace other people's perspective, and the way Carlos on Caleb shared this perspective, I just found it was interesting because, he went on to say that, how would you learn grace or forgiveness or mercy or patience or suffering if you were married to someone who never failed?
You're welcome. You are welcome that I could provide you with opportunities.
Here's the problem here's what problem I have with it. It's like, if it's over and over, then at some point you gotta let up, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was interesting that Carlos was saying that. Then Amy was like, I am probably the hardest on my husband.
Yeah, I heard her say that.
And I'm like, well, it's interesting about the female saying that, the male saying, you should be easier on men. That's how I
don't think that's what he said. But
no, but it was
he
interesting.
even said for his own heart, it was.
Yeah. No, it was a great perspective of just a little reflection of like, yeah, that's true. I don't think we're wired, obviously, to love our kids the same that we love our husband, vice versa. But do I extend the same level of grace and patience and forgiveness? I probably don't. So
I would just take that.
This actually is not. It wasn't a Q&A, so everyone doesn't like asking.
Perfect.
If you agree or disagree with me, I'm just saying.
She's open to perspective. You heard her say that a second ago, right?
I'm open to perspective to engage in some thoughtfulness of well, that's interesting concept of, okay, I probably don't do that. And I am hardest on my husband. I will tell you that. I agree with that.
318 on this day. I'll mark that down in the old journal. That's
all I want to say about it. We're happy to share it clip with you, with our listeners, if you want to listen to what they had to say. But he was reading some article, I felt like, but we've had a hard time finding it.
Yeah, I just know that it was really good content. I've reached out to see if they can provide it, but so far I have not heard back from them in that regard. Hopefully they'll be able to share where they got it. I do think that it is a great reminder that if we actually open our Bibles and read, I've written about this recently, I've thought about this a lot recently, is that, Jesus is very clear of how a marriage is supposed to work. He's asked about marriage. He's asked about divorce in the Bible. He talks about it. And he does talk about the fact that, the husband's job, my job in this marriage, which I really am just learning, right, is that I'm supposed to love Angie the way God loves his church, the people. And that means that, it's my job, even in this season of grief where we maybe don't know each other as well as we once did, is to continue to love her unconditionally the way that Christ did. And in return, I think moms are supposed to love their kids really unconditionally, but then they also, at some point, your hope is that they love Jesus the way, they'd love their husband in a way like they would love Jesus. And it's kind of how Jesus describes it in the Bible. And so that's kind of, I think, what Carlos and Amy were getting at. And it's definitely easier said than done because as we know, marriage is, I guess marriage must be hard based off the divorce rate numbers this day and age. You know?
I would say.
So I think that's all they're trying to say. And I can see that I learn a lot about myself and about also just grace and trying to give that to you on the rare occasion that you might need it. I mean, obviously, it's not a normal occurrence, right? But if there was a rare occasion that it was warranted, that's how God tries to teach me about that. So
Valentine's Day is coming up.
I know I ordered something not long ago and Summer and I were doing, you're like, what is it? What is coming up now? You're like, is there another holiday now that I have to buy something for? What is happening?
That's how
you were
tuned out.
oblivious.
No, it's how tuned out I am of like, I'm just trying to get through the day. But yeah, I don't even remember what was said, but you were like the gift you ordered. I'm like, oh my God, what is it? And you're like, oh, Valentine's Day's coming up. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even keep up. But
yeah, I mean,
do think
I've got grace for that. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. What'd you say? I don't need a gift. Just give me a hug or something like that.
Some physical attention is all, honey.
Like, no,
that's
actually,
all.
I think I'll buy you a gift.
Yippity skippity.
No, Valentine's Day is coming up. I was just thinking through like some of my favorite things. And I posted on some of this recently. I've had several people ask me about it. But for Christmas, Eric got me this spiral Bible. That's what it's called. That's the website. And I love it. Previously was not a Bible reader. I think the Bible is overwhelming. But this breaks it down and it's spiral. So the pages turn like a notebook. And then there's columns where you can take notes and it gives you a breakdown week by week of what you should read to be able to accomplish it all in a year. So far, I've been able to keep up, but I love that. I also, another one of our kiddos wanted something similar and almost like hers better because it's cool. In the back of her Bible, it'll tell you like different emotions like stress, anxiety, and it'll then list out different Bible verses for you to go read based on that or different events that have happened in your life. And it also gives you different Bible verses to read for that. So it's such a great guide. And she's really like embracing it, which I mean, makes me so proud because we tell our kids, like, if you don't have a foundation built on faith, as they know and can see, you will struggle. So that's one of my favorite items. But there's a ton. You can go on Amazon and do Bible with note taking. And there's a ton of options out there. Something else that I have been doing that I think is also great, could also be a gift idea if you need to give your husband a gift idea or your husband's listening, and you're my age where you need some help, red light therapy beds. It is good for my soul to lay in a red light therapy bed. I just feel like it's just helpful. You can go Google all the benefits.
I'm not done it, but I feel like I need to try it at some point.
There's a ton of benefits.
That's interesting. I would just say this. If guys need a gift for their wife or significant other, if they like baths at all, over the years, I have got you several bath items. There's a bath pillow that you absolutely love.
That is a must. If you take baths a lot and you don't have a bath pillow, they suction to the back of your bath. It will extend your bathing time by like 15 or 20 minutes because it's so cozy.
It is much more comfy than just a hard bathtub. And then also the little thing that goes across the bathtub where you can put a candle and a book or your phone so that you have a place, something that you can set items on while you're in the bathtub. And bath salts, gentlemen.
Yes.
Those are all
things. They don't last
things.
long, so stock up.
I get those for Angie regular, and it's a gift idea that I know she's never upset about.
No, magnesium, Epsom salt. There's all kinds of mixtures that are Good for your skin, good to detox, all the stuff. The last thing, you see a theme here. It's all health. Health and fitness, mental, emotional, physical. I stumbled on these vitamins. They're called Gruns, I think's how you say it. Gruns. And they're greens.
Does it have 2 dots over the U?
Yes.
Then I think it's Gruns. I think it's Gruns with the dots.
But I am terrible at taking like pills. And like if there's 10 different kinds, I just don't do it that often. I'm just not good at it. But this is like a greens gummies. It's a little pack that you just take these little gummies once a day. And I feel like it's also made a difference. So they're not cheap, though, I will say that. But you can get them on Amazon. But I do love those. If you're not good at taking pills or vitamins on a regular basis, this little pack of gummies is helpful.
What do you feel they've done for you? What's the benefit to the listener?
I feel healthier taking them. I don't know.
No extra glow or like energy boost or any of that. Just
no, I'm taking all kinds of shit. So
you're a walking enigma.
No, I just think they make a difference how I feel every day compared to my mismatched pill taking that I had before. Hair, nails, energy, all of that stuff. So,
well, I'm glad that you have found a vitamin that you can get in every day and just
consistent.
Is it because it's in a packet and you just keep the packet with you, and so you know you have to take it?
I don't have time to like roll out my pills that I need to take. So there's a thyroid one I take in the morning. That's my one pill, and then the rest I just take these gummies, and it's easy because I'm like, oh, I need to take my vitamins, and I just get my little gummies and eat them.
If you don't know this, and she's tried to explain it, and so just explain it again. Angie lives her life based on what makes it easier. If you can make her life easier, then you've got a shot. Okay, that's really it. Pills.
I don't have time.
Workout. If you can make her life easier, then she's open to it.
If you can save me time. That's what it's all about. Because I don't have enough time, but my list of things to do is endless. So any time savings, that is golden for me.
Okay. So Gruns vitamins, because they're in a packet.
It's my list of.
I'm almost surprised you don't have the packet just sitting there on the desk that you can.
Well, I'm out.
Flash.
I'm
my
out.
Goodness.
I know. So that's why.
How did you let that happen via Amazon?
Well, I thought I had it on subscribe, and I did not. That's why. See. Also, use subscribe on Amazon. Then you don't have to think about it on your routine things. Saves me time because I don't have to think about it.
Saving time all the time. That is the
I'm not
Angie
the only one that
Phillips way.
thinks that way. So just keep in mind for anybody looking for Valentine's ideas. Save your woman time.
There you go. That's all you got to do.
And she'll
we have
love
a lot
it.
more. We have a lot more female listeners than men, unfortunately. So
yes, I know.
ladies, you might have to pass that along.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the weekend that we had. Even though we knocked out a bunch of stuff, it was nice to go to dinner and have a little downtime. Grateful for Alani's. It's only energy. Because I've had a full day and Chase has wrestling tonight, so I'm going to need that. And I've got a bunch of stuff to do when I get back from wrestling, and I'm going to need the energy because it's a crazy week. And last thing I'm grateful for is the opportunity to help with the event this weekend that I'm excited about. I'll talk about it when I get back, but focused on women, and it's always good for the soul.
Love it.
What about you?
I'm grateful I got to have lunch with Lexi today. And so we haven't done that too much in the past. And, she doesn't live here anymore. And so it just hit me around the first of the year that, if I don't, I still see all the kids, even Carter, because he comes around from college. He doesn't have his own home. So he kind of has to come by here. Right. But Lexi has her own home. So unless you make time to see your kids, you're not going to see them. And so reached out about grabbing lunch with her. And we did that today. And it was really good. So excited to do that more often. I am grateful that the Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl for a third consecutive time, 5 of the last 6 years. Never thought I would see it as into my 30s, the Chiefs had never made it to the Super Bowl, and now it is what it is. Like, if you have kids and you're listening, like, Dane just thinks this is how it's always been.
Yeah.
Because he started following the Chiefs 7 years ago when he was 7 and Patrick Mahomes came in the league. So he just thinks you just go to the Super Bowl. To him, that's just normal. But super grateful for that. And then finally, I would say that I am grateful for good friends, good male Christian friends that I could talk to, that I can lean on. And if you have a husband or a significant other or a son who doesn't have those things, I recommend that you try to match him up with some good, strong spiritual mentors, no matter where they're at. And I know we have a lot of moms that listen that are in grief, whose husbands struggle. I know that we have sons that occasionally will listen that are struggling, or moms that have sons that are struggling. Just help them to find some great Christian men to be around. The conversations are deeper, makes you feel like you can really be honest and vulnerable. And so really grateful for some good friends in my life that way. So that's what I got today, Ange.
That's all I got. Random thoughts.
All right. Well, we'll say good luck to Chase tonight and again tomorrow night as he wrestles this week. And to everybody else, we appreciate you spending some time with us this week. Hope that you have a wonderful week, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.